thinking I was doing, I would have won. And because I didn't, we tied, and that was better anyway because both the points. And I actually felt bad that I was rezzing this thing. I was like, I'm sorry that we can't tie. I want you to have a point. Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to Peacock Plays Android Netrunner. So this is the third round, first game for me at the Forever Night Store Championship in Olympia, Washington on April 5th, 2014.
And who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Vitamin C.
And I'm Captain Crunch. You can see me here playing on the left, if with the Erebus playmats, playing Grendel, against our friend Taylor on the right, playing the Magical Kate build that recently won a store championship. I forget the location of. So Taylor is a friend of ours. We test decks together a lot, and this is his most recent attempt at Shaper. The way that the Magical Kate deck works is that it runs early. It's very aggressive. It features Desperado to get money running, and it tutors into a very flexible rig based on whatever threats it's encountering. My deck is Grendel Supermodernism, so that's based on Martin Pressman's original Supermodernism. The idea is that it's not built to last, but it rushes out agendas fast enough to make the runner get reckless, while threatening Scorch and featuring snares to make running aggressively scary. So my game plan is going to be to set up some cheap end-the-run ice over my centrals, and then build a Tower of Death as a remote to score out of. So, based on what you know about these two deck lists, which deck do you favor in this matchup?
Well, I would say that the Kate deck is probably at a general advantage against this particular Grendel deck, just because you want to have something to end the run. He wants to find out what he's going to run into and do something to make that not matter. Of course, I've played against your Grendel deck a couple of times myself. I've usually come up short, so I think it's really quite good, and you're quite good at piloting it. Of course,
thank you.
The benefits of time mean that I know who wins, so slightly a hard question for me to answer.
Don't spoil it. Oh no, I do agree though that Kate is at an advantage here. Self-modifying code can take huge advantage of test runs, of bad pub, and we're underway. All right, so install over the remote, install over R&D. This is pretty typical. And installing over HQ instead of an econ burst is a little suboptimal, but if you saw my hand, I had 3 pieces of ice, an agenda, and an anonymous tip. So, no money. Taylor immediately checking out HQ, and I res an Enigma, maybe a little bit greedy, but trying to rob him of that click, make it harder for him to set up. Gets into R&D, sees nothing. Right, and we see a sure gamble on his last click, getting his economy going.
Yeah, something fairly useful.
Yeah, it was weird to me that he held it, though.
Yeah, I have to admit, playing that out first seems like it would at least make sure it gets played, just in case you did have something, a snare or something, you know?
Yeah. Alright, so you see subliminal messaging coming out here. Here.
How many times do you think you missed the trigger for that?
So many. And now, scoring a hostile takeover out of hand, and getting that money going, and taking another bad publicity. And I feel like those are going to add up. Right, and we see he's now taking the bad pub onto his side, but we'll keep a running count. Makes sense to keep them by your credit so you remember to use them.
Yeah, I have problems with that. It's nice of you to put them up front, though.
I tried. Pardon my amateur camera work. Alright, so we see Taylor starting now with an self-modifying code, which, is not what I want to see.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
Especially since the surplus for playing it is already paid for by Bad Pub. So he runs R&D, I don't res, and he sees nothing. But now he makes an indexing run, so I res Archer to stop that, because that could just be the game.
Yeah, indexing is bad news that goes through.
Yeah, and I don't mind resing the Archer against self-modifying code, because with 9 credits, there's not really a whole lot he can SMC out that can actually deal with it and still be able to pay for it, so he just loses the SMC.
Oof.
Like, if he had a sharpshooter, that would have been viable, but that's pretty much the only answer to that.
So why'd you put Archer over the R&D as opposed to your remote? That's what I usually end up seeing.
I think I was hoping to draw another, and I wanted to be able to punish him for running R&D since I figured Shaper. That's probably his plan. I think I played a little bit too much against typical Shaper rather than against this particular build, though. That was probably a mistake. Alright, so I'm hitting Anonymous Tip and drawing up. This deck runs Anonymous Tip over Jackson, which is a very brave choice that is, I feel like, both won and lost me some games. I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Well, it makes me really happy just because when you don't have Jackson, I know that if I put something into your archives, that it'll stay there. I play Noise, poorly, as you'll see later, but, yeah, it makes me happy, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Noise is a terrible matchup for me, and to be honest, just having to guard another Central is really expensive, and slows this deck down more than it would like.
And we've missed mentioning some things. You've played another...
Oh, yeah, I installed on the remote, and I think you know what it is. Alright, so I'm going to res the Chimera here to keep him out. I name Codegate it because Yogg is probably the most expensive breaker, so if he's going to go and get something, I at least want to tax him. But I'm really hoping that he doesn't have it.
Of course, he doesn't have a self-modifying code, so...
Yeah, so that's the other reason why I felt secure enough to play that agenda out in the first place. But he's got a test run. And, of course, he's going to test run Yogg. Now, at least this deprives him of the bad publicity.
Chimera, though, should be de-resed.
No, that's at the end of the turn.
Oh.
Yeah, so it stays out. He knows what to get. And with test run, the cost of it doesn't really matter because it's just a flat 3 no matter what. So I feel like, you know, this was a calculated risk, and this was the potential downside. Yeah, although, as you saw before, the agenda that went down there is profiteering, and I guess the question is, I mean, what do I even do with profiteering in this matchup, right? Because Bad Pub is so bad against him.
Yeah.
And you see, he got the profiteering. I don't know, I feel like I might even have not taken the money, but I don't know. It's just an ugly position to be in.
Yeah, well, you're trying to do, I don't know, Bad Pub me? And against someone who wants it.
He cares. Alright, so we see him get in, see, I think, an operation. Alright, and now we're back to me. And we see that y'all go back on top of the deck. Alright, so another agenda in there, which... playing it risky, but installing ice over the front as well to protect it. And placing an advancement. This is what I was talking about with early pressure, just making it so that he can't take a breather, can't take the time to do things like draw up for fear of snare. Or scorch.
And makes sense too if he does tutor something else.
Yeah. So I bounce him with an ice wall, so now he needs all 3 kinds of breakers out.
Not to mention at least a fractor plus whatever Chimera is to actually get through that dang thing.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, is there are now demands for all 3 types on the board.
There already was.
Yeah. So, this is going to send him... This is actually going to have him Parasite the Archer, which makes sense as a long-term investment, but means that I'm going to be able to score this turn.
Well, it's not like he could have done anything about that, I imagine.
Yeah.
He's lost a test run, he used a test run, lost self-modifying code.
Yeah, so just trying to eat up those tutors, make him use them, hope he can't get his whole rig out. So I spent my whole turn trying to score geothermal fracking, which does leave me for a turn without very much money, but everything that I care about is rezzed already, so...
Yeah, Chimera's gonna do you so much good right now.
Could help avoid a splash bank job.
Ooh. Oh no, because you could just run archives.
I thought it was a remote for bank job. No, it's a remote for bank job. You're thinking dirty laundry.
Yep, yes I am.
No worries.
That happens sometimes, as you all may have noticed. Vitamin C pays less attention than he should.
Yeah, so in the meantime, we just see Taylor drawing through his deck and moneying up, hitting another shore gamble. Alright, so meanwhile, I'm going to hit a big money turn, take another bad pub to put that geothermal fracking out. Getting up to 10, which allows me to shore gamble and restructure.
Hedge fund.
Or sorry, thank you.
Wrong
Hedge
team.
fund and restructure. So
Big difference.
Yeah, so this is a big money turn, but I don't know. I have to wonder if it's worth the bad pub. I could have clicked twice for credit to get into hedge fund range, and then once more to get into restructure range. But that's 3 clicks. That's a turn.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it?
I don't know. On the one hand, he doesn't have all that much out right now that the 3 bad pub is going to hurt you with, help him with, but he's obviously going to sooner or later, and it's something he wants.
Yeah.
But I mean, with what he's got right now, it doesn't even matter. Bad pub's not doing him any good. So I can see why you'd want the money a little bit sooner to try and shut him out a little bit better in the future.
Yeah. So we see him starting to rig up. He's got that data sucker to go with the Yogg, and he's getting my hand for free. But this is the other thing, is that, like I said, I rely on deterrents other than ice to keep the runner out.
Makes sense. And that is one advantage of not playing... Oh.
And you see, he actually opts not to make that run, even though he can do it for free because he's so scared of snare. He draws up instead.
Using Diesel.
Yeah, so meanwhile...
I think that's one advantage of not having Jackson Howard in there, is that you can't lose him.
Yeah, meanwhile, I hit an anonymous tip, get another restructure, and credit up even further.
Yeah.
We're in 2 dice territory now.
Oh, yeah. So much money. It is... Well, it's Grendel. What do you expect?
Yeah. Now I install there, I see him at 4 credits. I feel like this is probably about the best scoring window I'm going to get. And we see Taylor go into the tank for a little bit. He's going to be thinking for at least a minute here. So, I don't know, how are you feeling about this matchup so far?
I don't know. You've scored twice. He's scored the once. He can keep running your hand, and I understand why he's afraid of snare. But honestly, it seems to me like he should be taking advantage of that. Hit you a couple of times with snare. Get some stuff on data sucker for use elsewhere. Heck, hit your hand once. Run on your R&D. Kill Archer. Using the
he
data
still
sucker.
needs 3 more tokens. Archer strength 6.
I'm sorry, folks. I keep mixing up the cost and the strength in my head here.
No worries.
Even so, hit your R&D 3 times. You have to kind of deal with that. R&D HQ. Hit your HQ 3 times. Check out what you've got. If he hits a snare, deal with the tag at the end of the turn.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to really push your aggression, that would definitely be a line that's available to you.
I guess it seems to me what he wants to do is probably get rid of that Archer, make it so that you don't just have one server that he can't get through. And that's the only means he has to really do that, aside from running HQ a bunch, which, as you mentioned, is kind of risky.
Yeah. No, and the other thing is just I outcredit him, and he doesn't know what's in my hand, and running at all is kind of scary for him because I can see Scorch if I've got it. Like, there's no way he's beating that trace. So that's kind of the pincer attack of Supermodernism. You're scared to go fast, you're scared to go slow.
Yeah, it's very effective.
Yeah.
And of course, we said all that with me not knowing what was in Taylor's hand, because Mimic means he can get through Archer at some cost.
Yeah, so he credits up, drops a Mimic, drops a self-modifying code, and runs on that agenda.
Oh.
So, mid-run, he cracks the self-modifying code using 3 bad pub to get a corroder for 1. Break
Nice.
through that with 1.
Doesn't really matter what you choose next. It'll cost you 2 to cost him 1.
Yeah, and
You've got the money to make it not entirely worthless, but he's sitting on 3 bad pub. It's only going to keep him down so long.
Yeah, I value my credits enough. Or sorry, I value the credit advantage enough to make him pay the extra 1, but he's getting in there.
Yep.
And scoring a false lead. False lead also just really nice for the flatline plan, as well as being acceptable Archer food, because if somebody runs on second click and hits a snare,
Well,
they don't get other clicks now.
and of course now he's got his breaker suite out there. He's got the 3 bad pubs, so it turns out pretty lucky for you, you weren't able to score and take the money off profiteering earlier.
Yeah. But I am going to take another bad pub, scoring out this hostile takeover to get it out of my hand because I know that he's got free reign and he'll want to go there for the sucker tokens.
Yeah, well, at this point he's getting through on pretty much any server anyways.
Yeah, so the safest place that agenda can be is in the scoring area. Now, I do have some HQ defense, and still, as we've talked about, but he's going to be accessing.
That's the thing to do, pretty clearly. Does he have a...
Alright, so he gets into HQ, and... Snare!
Hey, finally pays off.
Yes.
Hope you have the money for it.
So, he's gonna credit up and shake the... So he gets a sucker token, but he's gonna credit up and shake the tag. So this puts him in a end draw for last click to get his cards back, so that at least saves my archer for another turn, and setting him back that tempo.
And I think there's been a slight misplay. I am a master of misplays. His data sucker has 2 tokens, but as far as I recall, he's only run 1 central since it came out. So
could be a mistake. Not going to matter either way, because I clear virus counters to keep my archer alive.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Don't
tempo
want that
hit,
dying.
but...
Oh, I mean, but losing archer over and any defense over R&D
Yeah, it's bad.
hurts his tempo just as much because he's got to run on HQ a few times to be able to sucker it down. But
Yeah, so he's trying to recover here, just drawing up and gaining 3. And meanwhile, I'm gonna draw a card. Now, next thing I do, it's a little hard to see because of the wonderful camera work I've done here, but I'm gonna pop an ice over archives to eliminate his free data sucker, or is there, knowing that he is gonna be more wary about running my hand than running archives because I don't run shock, and I pop another one over the hand as well. So just trying to say no a little bit.
Well, makes sense. Want to keep him out as much as you can. I'm curious, why didn't you play over your remote? I mean, I understand keep him out of your hand, but you know he gets through there anytime he wants.
You'll see.
Fair enough.
Alright, so he hits the shore gamble, so and after gaining 2, so his economy is starting to bounce back.
But basically just what you don't want, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's able to get another Is that a self-modifying code? No, that's an Akamatsu mem chip out there. Or I think after a quality time.
There's going to bring it into a little bit of order.
Yeah.
Make it a little easier to see.
For that might be a jab at my
Actually,
at my organization a little bit.
Yeah, you'll see when Crunch plays a runner, but he does the same all in one line first thing. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah, so you see I draw up, hit a subliminal messaging, and put another piece of ice on that remote. It again trying to work towards the scary tower of unknown and unknowable death. At least until you run it. With now 4 bad publicity available to you.
Yeah.
So we see it's starting to add up.
Yeah.
Alright, so he's going to drop another mem chip and a self-modifying code and then run HQ. So I'm going to res Bastion because, again, it's like that eats up the bad pub entirely on a run. So...
Yeah, at the very least you can't self-modifying code for free by running your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing, is he does still have to run in order to take advantage of that bad pub discount. Now, he is going to get through, and he's going to hit a 2... No. Okay.
I'm curious why you didn't trash Enigma when you dropped in Bastion. It's not like it's doing you any good there.
I think it just slipped my mind.
Huh? Fair enough. Things slip my
Misplays
mind all the time.
abound.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I am the master of misplays, and you'll see when we get to my games. Boy, oh boy, do I take a lot of really good situations and manage to snatch defeat from the claws of victory. Jaws of victory. Oh, I'm misquoting someone from a forum anyways, so... Ah, well.
Okay, clearly Victory is just a very scary monster with lots of sharp...
Claw teeth?
Well, I was gonna say orifices, and then I realized claws aren't like orifices; they're like appendages. But
Yeah,
teeth are
that's...
definitely mouths. I don't know. Lots of sharp things. Anyway.
Avoid the hand of victory.
Yeah. Anyway,
don't want to be
installing
your
here
friend.
and using a power shutdown for 0 to kill his self-modifying code. It would just...
Prevent him from
redu-
getting a parasite or something.
Yeah, prevents him from getting a parasite. Also prevents him from switching to the non-fixed breakers. And just in general makes running a little bit scarier for him because he's got less of a safety net. So he's going to run HQ. I think he pays to get in, forgets about the bad, some of the bad pub.
Even with it there right next to him,
Yeah.
I've done the same.
Yeah. And he sees Scorched Earth. Again.
But he's feeling good about having gotten rid of those tags.
Again, fear is a great weapon for the Supermodernism player. But now we see he does take this opportunity to go and kill the parasite, get into R&D. Or sorry, kill the archer with the parasite. Get into R&D. And snags an agenda off the top, I believe. Or sorry. Yeah, and he's up to 4 points now. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see. I want to say it was a geothermal fracking. So,
Pretty obvious what to do in that situation, I'd
Yep.
say.
so
He's seen
things
one
are
snare.
looking a little bit sketchy here. Scoring out Atlas because I know I'll give up an agenda next turn if I don't. And again, trying to put the pressure on, and knowing that he is still perhaps unreasonably scared of Snare just from talking to him. The table talk hopefully will still be somewhat audible here because he does, like, he's talked about not wanting to run R&D, or sorry, not wanting to run HQ in certain circumstances because Snare is too scary.
Which, I don't know. I understand wanting to avoid the tempo hit, but I always feel like as long as you don't run right at the end or they don't have false lead out, it's really not something to be that afraid of. It's only 3 net damage. It's not... I mean, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. And without Jackson, there's only going to be 3 of them in Crunch's deck.
Yeah, so he still does it. And here he drops the R&D interface, snatches an agenda off the top. I believe a Project Atlas, and then leaves the next card.
Fair enough. And of course, he had to gain money to play that, so he can't unfortunately run again this turn. But
Yeah. Yeah, so meanwhile, I'm in quite a state now.
this is not looking too good for you.
Yeah.
Pretty
So-
much no matter what that is, he's going to have a solution to it.
Yeah, so I popped up an agenda in, hoping that he'll take the safe safe-looking one piece of ice over the scary-looking tower.
But of course, you can break through your tower for next to nothing.
Well,
so.
he doesn't know what the top piece of ice is, which is what I'm banking on. But spoiler
But you know-
alert, it's another ice wall.
Yeah,
I'm just bluffing at this point because I know that trying to if I don't win next turn, I'm not going to win at all. So
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, I think the thing is, though, you're pretty well known for disliking big ice. The biggest thing I think you've got in your deck is Archer, isn't it?
Archer and Grim are the real scary ones in here.
Yeah, but either of those he can kill and deal with, so it's not like there's anything you've got.
He's only got
that-
2 sucker tokens, so he couldn't deal with an Archer.
Hmm?
Anyway,
Oh,
he does grab that agenda though, and that is the game. So
Miscounted.
yeah, so I don't feel too bad about it, but I definitely feel like not being able to get a piece of legitimately scary ice on the top of that big tower hurt me substantially.
Feel it's worth noting that, well, no, I'll save that for next.